And this is fairly typical for locksmith work. It is fairly confusing, but this is a door lock. He needs an ignition key. So I'm going to disassemble this whole thing, pull this off, pull all the stuff off the back, and then try and decode it with the proper key. The whole operation is going to take an hour. You guys don't want to film the whole thing, but that's kind of a basic type of job that I do. A lot of, and the other thing I do probably even more is car openings, people locked out, and safes, a lot of safes. What happens in a town like this is when somebody passes away, they typically take their safe combination with them, and then they'll call me and I'll open it up with them, and then they'll call me and I'll open it up. And that can be really fun. You want to hear a funny story? This is a limb reattachment. The wrist no longer turns, but it still works. You change, you make it rotate if you need to rotate it. And little surgeries like this, I have screws all over my body. I've had 31 surgeries, major surgeries, where I've been out. I had a climbing accident and broke 27 bones. 110 feet underground, rock. Died, had a near-death experience, tunnel of white light. Wonderful experience. That's my third one. I've done it 2 other times too. I had a good life. It's really good. Mm-hmm.
3 times. Yeah. All climbing?
No. First one was when I was 15. I ran away from home, and we went down to Africa, and then went all the way up into Holland. We were in Amsterdam, and I had a drug overdose. Yeah, and so my heart stopped, and I ended up in the hospital in a coma for 8 days, and had a near-death experience that time. And then another one was climbing, and then this one, which was the biggest.
You went down to Africa?
Well, Morocco. I mean, we went across the Straits of Gibraltar, and then we went to Greece. Yeah, we were in Spain, and all of Europe. I hooked up with these 2 girls, and I was young, and they were older, and they had money. And then I got caught. My parents were looking for me, and they used Interpol, and eventually tracked me down. Which I wanted to go home by that time.
Right.
It wasn't like I was ready. But yeah.
How long was it you spent?
9 months, I suppose.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I went back in the school year. It was already midway through, and well, that's the reason I didn't go back, is because I was embarrassed or ashamed. I don't know. Yeah. I came over here when they tried to draft me in the Italian army. I was 19. I took a boat into Switzerland from Italy. My grandmother had a villa on Lago Maggiore, which was a big lake, one of the northern lakes, and it goes into Switzerland. And instead of going through a border, back in those days the borders were tight, I crossed the lake, by water, and that way I was able to get out of there, because I have dual citizenship, and they wanted to draft me in the Italian army. And it was during Vietnam, and fortunately my lottery number was so high that there was no way I was going to Vietnam. They came to the house twice, the Carabinieri did, and my mom said, "Oh, he's not here," and I was in the closet in the other room. And then, the second time she said, "You got to get out of here." And I said, "Yeah." Small parts are all here. Things like commercial rings and bits, and of course spanners, stuff like that. I recycle everything. I have at home 300 pounds of these. All this stuff gets recycled. It's various metals. This is a day's worth of work, and I drill out a lot of locks. It's kind of cool. This is a drilled out lock because I couldn't pick it. And then I just replaced the cylinder, and I always have those. And this all goes to a metal recycler who's a friend of mine. And he actually pays me for it, but it isn't about the money because it's not very much. It's just because it's the right thing to do, period. This is a Schlag, probably the most common key you'll see on houses. So I put it in this position, and I've already done the research, so I know what the cuts are. So let's say it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the cut is 5, so I go to 5. Boom. 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is very precise. 0.10 of an inch. And I spend a lot of time making it so. I love my truck. It's really old school, all hand painted, none of this vinyl shit. This is my daughter's spirit animal, and these are really old. They're all. I had a career in skiing for 35 years. Coaching and racing, basically. So those are all collectible bullshit. L'italiano è la mia prima lingua. Parlo benissimo l'italiano.
Your first language, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of grew up there. Yeah, I go back every now and then. Mostly to see my dad. He's getting old. He's an amazing fella. But I have my issues with him, like every kid does with their parents. You know what I mean? It's just part of life.
What's his book about?
He smuggled Jews from Italy into Switzerland during World War II, and he was just a kid over the mountains. And then he became a Nazi, basically, and he was a spy. And he worked for the general that was in charge of all the military operations in Italy. They were going to draft him into fascism in Italy, and he had the option, if he joined basically the Germans, he would be given a privileged position where he was a driver. He was a chauffeur, basically. He was a very good driver. He raced cars forever, but so that's what they did. His parents said, you need to sign up there so you don't go to the Western Front or the Eastern Front, you know, because that's what was happening. You'll stay here in Italy, you'll drive this general around, and we can track what he's doing. And they had a radio hidden in their house and all that, which was instant death back then. And his brother, they were all partisans, so they were, you know, they were resistance fighters. And then in the very end of the war, when the Nazis were leaving Italy, he was told or asked by the Americans to arrest the general that he had been working for. So he did that and drove him to the border and handed him over to the Americans. He'd been working for this guy for like 3 years, and they were pretty close in a way, I mean in a weird way. And very carefully, because if you over file, you're done. It's time for a new blank. Put my mark there, and I'll give it a little file. It's about a 1 cut. And sometimes I'll do this because it's much easier to work with the key in this position. There we go. The guy that was here, the last guy that was here died 2 years ago. He was fighting Agent Orange from Vietnam, so he got cancer and passed away. And he was a grumpy old guy, but I liked him. We got along, and it was really nice to have him. I have way too much work now. I don't take a day off, pretty much. I enjoy what I do, which makes it all work. Otherwise, I don't really need to do this.
Right.
I mean, I worked all my life. I'm done. But I do it because it gives me a lot of satisfaction and I enjoy it. And it's always challenging. Everything's different and keeps my mind activated and, you know, and my hands too. So you can see my hands are really gnarly. And that's from climbing and work, you know, this kind of stuff.
Where's the nearest locksmith that's not Mountain Valley?
100 miles, probably, more or less. Yeah. Lancaster, Reno, that's it. There's nothing.
Do you worry after you pass away? There's going to be...
Yeah, I think about it a lot because I'm not that far from passing away. I'm kind of looking forward to it. But, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I had an apprentice and he was great. The guy was an engineer. Then he got a $150,000 job with DWP, but he still doesn't want to do that. He wants this.
Do you think he'll come back?
Yeah, I think he'll come around. Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm hoping to retire. But I also like working. But I know I'm going to get to a point where I can't anymore. This is a senior center. You get a meal there every day. You want? I was in the hospital rehab hospital for like 9 months, something like that. But I just had a daughter. She was very young, which is the reason I didn't die, because when I went through the tunnel and all that stuff, I was given a choice whether I wanted to come back or not, and I didn't want to come back. But I decided I have to because of my daughter. Yeah, she's in Vietnam right now. She's traveling. She's been 3 months. She's amazing. She's beautiful too. I think I have a picture of her somewhere. Feast your eyes. I was called to open the safe, and it was a really big deal. And I just started doing this, and so I get this call and say, "Oh, in September we're going to have all the heirs come over, 400-acre ranch outside of town here, and we need them all there. We're going to have a video camera, and the sheriff's going to be there with a couple of deputies, and a big deal." Mm-hmm. Anyway, for me, because I was kind of fresh at the time. This was many years ago. And so I went out there, and this 3 months before the opening, and studied the safe and got everything going and had all my tools when the day came. It was a big deal, and I drilled my 1/4-inch hole and put my scopes in, which, you know, this is all safe opening equipment, and set up a drill press and drilled my hole and went in there and dialed it and got the gates lined up with the fence and called everybody around. And it was so strange. They had 2 tripods with video cameras and then probably 15 family members. And then behind them was a deputy, the sheriff, and some witnesses. And I stood, you know, because I'm pretending to be professional, I stood off to the side, put my hand on the safe and said, "Okay, here we go," facing everybody. And I opened the safe, opened the door. It's a big safe, you know, 6 feet tall, wide like a gun safe, but it was a real safe. I opened it up and all this porn came out. I mean, not, you know, real porn. I mean, like Playboys and Hustlers, and it was set up on a booby trap, so when the safe was open, it would fall out. And then there was a couple ounces of pot, and that was it.
Si può finire qui, ma tu davvero puoi buttare via così un anno d'amore? Se adesso te ne vai, da domani saprai un giorno com'è lungo è vuoto senza